Hey everybody, welcome back to Fraction and Mixed Number Land today. We are continuing to work on multiplying mixed numbers. We're going to be using our fraction strips again. And today I want us to talk a little bit about a misconception that I see sometimes when students start to multiply mixed numbers, okay? So we're going to start out by looking at some word problems. So this word problem says that Miss Rowland bought 2.5 baskets of strawberries. Each basket weighs 1 3/4 pounds. How many pounds of strawberries did she buy? Okay, so I'm going to change this problem for just a second because I want to make sure I know what operation I'm doing. If I said that I bought 2 baskets of strawberries and each one weighed 2 pounds, then we would multiply 2 times 2 to see what the total weight was, right? So we know that we are multiplying these two numbers. Now, let's talk for just a second about something that happens a lot with 5th graders, okay? So we know that we are multiplying these two numbers just like that. And what I see 5th graders do sometimes is they'll multiply the whole numbers and get 2. They'll multiply the fractions and get 3/8 and say that's the answer, okay? So that's why we are working on modeling this today, because I want it to get in your head that that is not a strategy that we can use, okay? So let's actually set this up. I want to show 1 basket of strawberries. Let me start with showing 1 basket. So I know that each basket weighs 1 3/4 pounds. So I'm going to make my fourths. Remember, our denominator tells us how many make a whole, right? So we're going to cut this into fourths. And if you are wanting to draw the fourths out, that is totally and completely up to you. I like to use the pieces because I can move them around. I'm going to label my pieces. And I'm going to put them up there to represent 1 basket. All right. So there is 1 basket of strawberries. Right? I've got to make 1 more whole basket because I have 2 1/2 baskets. So let me make my second basket. Got my fourths. I have my whole basket. All right. So there's my second whole basket. Okay? So I have 2 baskets. Each of them weighs 1 3/4 pounds. So now I'm ready to take a look at this half basket. So yesterday, what we did is we took and we would look at a whole basket to start with. And then we would think about how we could cut it into half. Now, is that the only way that we can do that? Absolutely not. There are other ways that we can show this. This is just a strategy that I like because I like to think about the whole. All right, so I have right here my whole basket. So now I want to start thinking about how I can half this. What would this look like split in half? So if I take my whole and split it in half, cut it, what would I have? I would have half, right? I would have half of a basket. Or half of a pound, I'm sorry. So I'd have half of a pound. So now I've got to look at my fourths and think about how I could half them. Now, as I think about how to half them, I have to think, what are they worth? So if I cut a fourth into 2 parts, how much would it be? So let's look at that. Okay, so if I cut fourths into 2 parts, what would that be? It would be eighths. So I am taking these fourths, and I'm going to mark it first just because it's going to make it easier for me when I cut. So I'm turning those 1/4 in to 2/8. Now, remember, we're only looking at half of a basket, so let me half those. Alrighty. Alright, so I have halved my fourths, and now I have half of a basket right here. Okay, so now I'm ready to figure out how many pounds of strawberries I bought. So let's start out. I told you yesterday I like to put my holes together. So I want to do that. I want to put my 2 holes together. Okay, now I notice with my fourths that I can make a hole. All right, so now I have 3 holes, and I'm noticing something else that I can put together. Check this out. I have 2/4 right here. What is 2/4 equivalent to? It's equivalent to 1/2. Guess what? I have a half here, and I have a half right here. So if I put those together, that's another hole. And then I have my eighths. So how many pounds of strawberries did I buy? I bought 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3/8. 4 3/8 pounds. Okay? So let's change our numbers up a little bit and look at a different one. Okay? So now I have bought 3 1/4 baskets of strawberries, and each basket weighs 2.5 pounds. All right, so I'm going to start out by making my 3 whole baskets. Each one is going to weigh 2.5 pounds. All right, there's 2.5. That's 1 basket. Let's make another basket. All right, 2. We'll put him up here. 2.5 pounds. And let's make another basket. 2.5 pounds. Now, remember just a second ago, I'm going to get that half up there, don't I? Remember just a second ago I told you that when I'm looking at problems like this, I like to go ahead and make what another whole basket would look like and then cut it into fourths, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 2.5 pounds up there, and then I'm going to cut it so that I can see what my parts actually are, okay? So, we'll scoot him over here, and this is the basket that I'm going to cut right here. All right, so let's start out by thinking about our holes. If I want 1/4 of a hole, how many parts am I going to cut it into? I'll cut it into 4 parts, right? So 1/4 of that hole would be 1/4. All right, same thing goes for that. So now I've got to figure out what 1/4 of the half would look like. So let's see. If I draw a model for 1/2, okay, and I split it into 4 parts, then 1/2 is the same as 4/8. So 1/4 of that would be one of those 8s. Okay? So put one of my 1/8s right there. All right, so now I have 3 whole baskets and 1/4 of another. So let's start putting our pieces together. I'm gonna get my holes together. And I know that 2 halves make a whole. And then I'll look at this one, and I've got a half, and I've got those 2/4 again. 2/4 is equivalent or the same value as 1/2. So that makes another whole. And then I have my 1/8. So my total amount of strawberries, number of pounds I bought, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1/8. All right, I am going to give you guys a problem to try on your own. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of understanding the fractions using the pictures, okay? So some people know tricks and know algorithms, okay, to solve these problems. And that's great if you know how to do those things, okay? So my challenge to you is, even if you know tricks and strategies, try to check your work with a model, okay? Because that shows that you really, 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 really understand what you're doing, okay? So try to show what you're doing in some kind of model, okay? Just to check to make sure you really understand what we are doing with these fractions, okay? So your problem is that I bought 2 1/4 baskets of strawberries. Each of those baskets weighs 4.5 pounds. So how many pounds of strawberries did I buy? Okay. Bought 2 1/4 baskets of strawberries. Each basket weighs 4.5 pounds. I can't wait to see what you guys try with this, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.